Good evening, afternoon, night, morning, whenever you find a way to watch this podcast. This is me, Omar Shanti, Borja the Burger Popper. First time in a while with bringing back the podcast during the off season. Late January, we're in the midst of the All Star Game circuit. Speaking of All Star games, I'm hoping to plan a HBCU Legacy Bowl All Star preview for the week of that game, since that game is 3 weeks away. I mean, man, I love the niche that it's carved as the last college football game of the season. But speaking in terms of today, joining me is a gentleman that I have long wanted to have on the podcast. We've talked for a couple of years over anything ranging from the USFL to just college football in general. I have Scout from Southern Charm Sports joining me to discuss some Yellowhammer State football. Scout, how's everything going?
Yeah, it's going fine. We're all freezing our butts off, even though we're like 800 miles from each other. Woke up today, it was 17 degrees on my phone. I thought about mean tweeting all of the local meteorologists, but hey, someone will turn the heat on eventually. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's great. Nothing better to do than when you're snowed in and talking college football and watching college football. Obviously, with at the time that we're recording this, the East West Shrine game being tonight. Shout out to the Service Academy guys, Eli Heidenreich and Landon Robinson representing, showing that we're still relevant in this college football landscape. But that's not what we are here to talk about. Like the name, implies, Southern Charm Sports. Of course, you are an Alabama native, and earlier last week, North Alabama and Samford surprisingly announced a sort of kickoff game in Alabama, of course, in Huntsville at Wicks Family Field at Joe W. Davis Stadium, or I just say Joe Davis Stadium whenever I write it. But this game's interesting because this is both schools' first meeting in 23 years. It appears to be a one-off game, and it's just interesting because North Alabama has wanted to become that sort of big presence in Huntsville, the North Alabama area. They play Jacksonville State at Toyota Field, the
No.
Rocket City Trash Pandas venue, and now they're trying with Joe Davis Stadium. So, Scout, what are your original thoughts on this as someone that is very well versed in the Alabama college football scene?
Yeah, so this is gonna be where the rubber meets the road for both these schools. Obviously, these are our FCS programs in the state as well as Alabama State. And with that, it does hold water. This does mean a lot for the area. It means a lot for recruiting. It means a lot for a lot of different things. So, you're kind of like looking at this from two different angles. One, Brent Dearman, friend of the show, follower of FCS, shout out coach. But Brent Dearman is UNA Lions that they're in a spot where they really need to shine this year. They're having the new stadium next year, but they really need to shine this year. And with that, I really think that they're gonna surprise some people here. I think people are gonna take John Grass. He's in the first year. He has Paul Tyson. He has Andrew Zhao. He has all these guys that are on that Clemson staff coming over. I don't think he's announced a offensive or defensive coordinator as of this recording on January 27th. But everything with Samford has already been built. Obviously, with Coach Hatcher, they did make the playoffs, but it kind of fell off after that. And Samford wants a winner, right? The presidency has already come out. He said he wants a winner. Basketball still doing well after losing Buckyball. Buckyball they have national clout as a university now. And I understand that football is a completely different sport, but when you have two of your three major sports, baseball and basketball, on campus performing exceptionally well, football kind of, it gets held to that same standard. So regarding the game, obviously the transfer portal, we still don't know exactly who's on which team and all that kind of stuff. But I do think this is where UNA kind of takes the hammer and says, hey, like we're here to stay. This is essentially a home game for UNA. I know like Florence isn't in, like it's not at Joe Davis or whatever, like you know what I'm saying, but this should be a home game. They should have more of the crowd. I know Sanford has a ton of people though in that Huntsville area, in that Northwest Georgia area that can, come over support. But this is definitely, I think, like the most pressure is obviously on UNA. They've had some mess ups in the past, even under Dearman in these like kickoff type games. So yeah, and I will say my one my one X factor is just how much high school recruiting that UNA has done. I want to just like completely put an emphasis on that. They've done a great job. I think they've gotten at least 15 Alabama kids in like the last four classes or whatever. And I'm like, that means a lot, right? Like you're fighting for your state. And then some of these kids, I guarantee, like they could be from Birmingham and wanted to go to Samford, or could like, they're just trying to prove themselves. And it does mean a lot. And I really think that this is the year that UNA shines. Obviously they have a bunch of contention in that conference, but um, I'm really high on UNA, and more on that later.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear because when you think about UNA, you think about the winning tradition there, but they have not adjusted well to
Yeah,
the D2 transition as other programs like Tarleton has, or even West Georgia. West Georgia last year like took the FCS by storm. So, I
yeah,
mean, I agree with that honestly there. I think that more is at stake really for North Alabama than Samford per se. I know Samford had a down year, but honestly, I feel like with the transfer portal, like the Southern Conference has always been filled with parity, and I think the
yeah,
transfer portal just makes it just even more so. Like it makes it so where like East Tennessee State had two FBS starting court like guys with starting experience at quarterback, and like they didn't even sniff the top of the conference. So, it'll be interesting to see where Samford ends up placing the conference, or just in general where this game places them as a benchmark. But yeah, North Alabama. I'm kind of surprised that Brent Dearman's seat isn't more hot, to be quite honest with you, just because how how much tradition they have winning at North Alabama.
yeah. And I will say I slightly misspoke. I forgot of this update, but the stadium will be ready by September, the new stadium. So they may not be able to play one or two home games there, but they should be able to play a home game there, or at least multiple home games there this year. But yeah, for sure the transition's been a little tough. I think as a university, they were also growing up a little bit. Obviously they have some issues right now. There's a lot of drama with their band program and some other stuff at the university, and it's just growing pains of a university of this caliber. When you're a D2 school, you have a lot less story about. Now you're having so much more. The donor amounts more. You're having to worry about all this other stuff. I'm sure the endowment has grown exponentially, but the one issue being like a school like Tarleton, their endowment was like exponential. Like they're like, hey, D2, okay, here we go, D1. And but with UNA, I think that they're it's a slow burn, but they have all the pieces. Like if you look at the stadium that they're building here, it's gonna be one of the best in that, like in D1 or in FCS at least. And then if they move up to G5 at any point, the stadium should be like still pretty damn good for a G5 team. It'll be a little smaller, but it'll be more like Old Dominion where it's really respected just because of how nice it is, even though it's a smaller stadium. But overall, I think that it's a big game, and I think that it will be a tight game, like a very tightly contested game. I think that honestly, I love my boys up there at UNA. I think the one thing that all these Clemson guys have on them is the fact that they've been working under Sweeney, and obviously they have Dabo's kid on staff too. And I'm not saying that they'll get out coached, but there just might be something that UNA hasn't seen that they'll toss in, like some, RPO kind of set, some trick play kind of thing. I love how Dabo uses schemes and trips, that kind of thing. And they still might see it. They might have to look at some Clemson tape to be like, hey, they might run this on us. They might run that on us. But I think UNA can still handle it. I think they do a great job of strengthening and conditioning. I think they do a great job of recruiting up there at UNA. And they have some dogs. I don't know who exactly is going to lead the clubhouse at either school quite yet. I think they have a lot of guys that are like right there who could. Um, but yeah, I just don't know exactly what we're gonna deal with. And I hate saying that. I know like everybody's like, I transfer forward this, I all that. But I like it to an extent because like it keeps me more engaged. It's not like, okay, well I know it's mid of January, I know everything. Okay, let me make some terrible tweets about the fall predictions in January. So you really have to wait till like March or April, and then all of a sudden you make a post about Carson Beck that Miami fans will quote tweet until they lose in the national championship game. But hey, whatever, right? So, Mr. Borgia.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's just a great point too, just about how like we just don't know yet with the transfer portal, right? I mean that the college football off season is taking much shape like the NFL off season. In fact, probably like more volatile because the NFL you have your returners, you have your contract guys that are there on long term deals. That's not the case in college, so it's interesting. Like we could expect anything with
So,
both these programs. So I mean, I guess like you said, it just brings a bit of excitement and mystery in January, rather like you said, than just like kind of a wait and see, or just like I know kind of like just be stagnant for the rest of the off season. So
so.
one another question I do have that I want to discuss with you is Samford. Would you say they have a strong presence in Huntsville, or is that something that they've been trying to build for a while with this game?
Um, Sanford's weird. They do like playing away from home. So Sanford's a private Christian school, right? So a lot of the people there are not from Birmingham. Like, or I shouldn't say a majority, but a lot, like a good chunk, right? And with that, they might have kids that are from Huntsville. They might have kids that are from Atlanta. They might have kids that are from like Judge Dilliard out of Georgia. Both of his kids go there, but they're both Georgia kids, so they'll be, back at um, back in Georgia probably after college. So it's an interesting predicament. I think that's also why they like playing in like a zone more than playing just at home. And but I do think that they take like homecoming very seriously there. So I don't know whether they're really trying to like dig into Huntsville, but I know that they've played in Montgomery, obviously, like UNA. I think they've played. Have they played South yet? I think they're trying to play South. But yeah, I think they're just trying to make their presence known with everybody. Obviously, they've already played Auburn twice in the past couple of years. Um, so yeah, I think it's definitely more of a, and they're playing UAB this year too. And I think it's definitely more of a Samford trying to get their brand out to all the Alabama schools than anything. And with that, it's like it's really easy to recruit every part of Alabama if you have a game there this week, right? I know that UAB is much more of a pride thing, right? They're like, hey, if we can beat them, we own the city or whatever. Um, but yeah, I think it's much more of a hey, like if we can beat UNA, then we can like this will prove a lot. So I think like the most to win from this is obviously Samford because if Samford beats UNA, like that would be a huge first win. Now it won't be like groundbreaking or anything, right? Like I don't think this is one that they're giving them no chance, but it'll still be a very good win. And but on the other side of this too, I think that if UNA wins, it would also be a very like a good win for them, and they can carry it on to the rest of their season. So
Yeah, I agree. Like both these programs are building, but yeah, like Samford, honestly, they were horrendous last year for lack of better. No disrespect, honestly, no disrespect at all.
yeah,
But I mean, it was well below their standards, like well below the Liam Welch, Doug Hodges years. But yeah, like I think that they benefit a lot from that. But I mean, that's good to know the institutional makeup per se of Sanford because I would have assumed like small school in Sanford, like small Christian school, small private school, that a lot of their student base was from like the state of Alabama, like from local, because
yeah,
I feel like not a lot of kids like from across the country, like even a few states over, like maybe like a South Carolina, say like, hey, I want to go to Samford, like that. That's like, not no disrespect to Samford, but it's like it's not like a huge like, I guess the alumni presence isn't there. It's like not like every other business in your local area is owned by by a Samford grad type of thing.
can I interest you in the box score of their opening game? That was a 34-3 loss last year.
Oh, absolutely. I love box scores.
Okay, so obviously they lost 34-3. The first part of this is fine. West Georgia had 18 first downs to Sanford 16. Okay, okay. They had this is just rushing and passing. I will say though, Sanford's the box sheets that they have, oh, glorious. They had West Georgia had 180 rushing yards to Sanford's 24. Now they did level out. West Georgia only had 231 to Sanford's 247 passing yards, but total offense was a 411 to 271. And you're like, how did they lose by 31? They only got outgained by 140. More on that later. Punting. West Georgia only punted the ball 4 times. Sanford punted 8 times. You're like, well, that's not that bad. Well, Sanford only had one kickoff. One. And then West Georgia obviously had 7. And then on top of that, here's the big cojones. All right. Where are turnovers? Why am I forgetting? Okay, here are the turnovers. Fumble was lost. West Georgia had 0, Samford had 3, and one I swear was at like their own 20-yard line. In 3 chances in the red zone, West Georgia scored all 3 touchdowns. Samford actually had a 4 and out, or not 4 and out, but like they got 1st and 10 in the red zone and failed 4 times. Yeah, it's just, and the funniest part to this is that I'm pretty sure West Georgia missed 1 or 2 field goals in this too, so it could have been worse. But it's just like, and that I think the one game, and granted, this will not happen even if Sanford gets blown out because it's year one. But I think that one game put them on such a tight like. ugh. Then they lose to Citadel 13-40. And then they lose to Baylor 7-42. And I'm pretty sure weren't like all those points scored. Yeah, the halftime score of that game was 35-7. And you might call me a box score watcher for this, but whatever. Let's keep going. 50-35 loss to Western Carolina. 31-13 loss to Furman. 45-21 loss to Mercer. They finally win a game. 24-22 to VMI. Then they get blown out again. 49-13 by Chattanooga. And then I'm pretty sure that was the week that they actually fired him, or they might have waited, but I swear that was like the week where it really caught up was when they lost to Chattanooga. Because that was also, or not, that was First Responders Day. More to come on that later. Um, Wofford, they lost again by 10. Homecoming comes around, they lose to ETSU 38-14. Austin P, they lost 30-16. And then Texas A&M, they covered the spread. They covered the spread to this game. They lost 48-0. They covered the spread. You want to know what the spread was? 49.5. That's what it closed at. It was the largest spread of like the last 5 years, and I might be kind of wrong on whether or not they actually covered the spread, but I remember seeing someone lose like an actual bet slip that said 49 and a half, and it was like plus 120. So it might have not been the actual bet slip or the actual like one, but the fact that you can bet 49 and a half points or 49 and a hook. Oh, anyway, so yeah, that was Sanford football, and I mean I love Hatcher. Like I've said this plenty of times, and I don't mean any of what I just said to poop on Hatcher because obviously Hatcher like literally Kirby Smart is in the Michael Hatcher or Chris whichever I always forget his first name. His football tree or like his family tree, Kirby Smart's on there, right? Like Kirby Smart started his coaching under Hatcher, and Hatcher also has a bunch of other guys that he started under. He started with Mark Rick somewhere. And he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Like I went to Sanford's like 7-on-7 tournament, and I think I talked to him for probably 15 minutes in total. And I don't even know, he probably doesn't even know who I am, but he was just talking. He was just free and just asked me, what I do. He's like, oh, you go to a lot of high school games. He's like, coming to any of our games? I'm like, yeah, I've come to quite a few. I know you're a ticketing guy. I've been to a bunch of bucketball, and he was just thankful. Like he's like, yeah, I never get the chance to talk to any of y'all. He's like, I talked to some of our like on campus staff, our student staff or whatever, but yeah, he's like, I appreciate all y'all do, and I'm like, thank you, and I'm like obviously he was a super nice dude, but I'm like, dude, just years of that. And I think the last year that they were any decent was under Hears or like Michael Hears or whatever, the quarterback. And I mean, if it takes a FCS Heisman recipient or like FCS Heisman watch list person to make your team good, it's tough. But I think Undergrass will be different. Obviously they have Zhao who has ties to Alabama. They have Paul Tyson who's literally the great grandson of Bear, and then they have Sweeney who's obviously Dabo's kid who has ties to Alabama. So yeah, it'll be and I think under Hatcher they were Alabama oriented, but this will be like an Alabama bred. And Brent Dearman has the same thing at UNA. Obviously, I'm yapping at this point, but I do appreciate both these universities for being into uh, the state, unlike a certain Super Bowl champion quarterback who completely flunked at UAB. And we'll talk about UAB eventually as well, I'm sure, but or not in this podcast, but I'm sure at some point. And but Mortensen will do a much better job than the Super Bowl winning quarterback that tried at UAB. So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though that I think just all the ties. I didn't even realize that there are so many Alabama ties to Sanford. Um, Sorry, I just got a text from my wife in the other room. But but yeah, like I didn't realize there were so many ties like to Alabama with Samford, honestly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm excited to see how it plays out. Like that's ideally what you want at the FCS level. Like you don't really want someone national. I think you want someone that can recruit out of high school because a lot of high school
No.
recruits are getting shut out by the transfer portal. So you want a guy with good regional ties and that can honestly develop you. It's the elephant in the room, but a lot of these programs like I think are trying to lean into developing players more so they can get their bag, for lack of a better term. It's as sad as that sounds. It's just the world we live in right now. But going on to close, of course, we can't talk about anything related to Birmingham or a school near the Birmingham Metro without talking about Legion Field. So this is a one-off game. There's only a
Yeah.
meeting scheduled for 2025. Do you see Legion Field hopping onto this game? Because we talked beforehand, there's only one game as of now at Legion Field, and it's just kind of there, honestly, just taking up space. So
So everyone knows I am. I may look the way I am, but I am not an over the mountain way I am. You understand what I'm saying? And there's a part of Birmingham that does include Samford that is over the mountain, as people like to call it. And I think it would be a hard sell for it to go to uh, Legion Field. Now, would I like it at Legion Field? Obviously, I love the Magic City Classic. I love all these events that are at Legion Field, and I think that at some point they will tear it down. Like I think like that's becoming a very popular idea, especially with the fairgrounds there. Basically, tear it down and build a better, either build a smaller but better stadium. Because like I'm not saying it's a piece of crap, but parts of it, phew, like it's a very well thought out stadium. The bathrooms are nice. They're well maintained. They have enough food. It's definitely a stadium that used to be in 100,000 seater, and they're built to service 100,000 people. Um, but it's getting to the point where we should probably you know if not tear it down, try to tear it down. And I understand that that's not going to be a very it's not going to be a very cool thing. Um, but yeah, and I will say, so John Grass was on the same staff as Mike King, Bill Clark of Prattville Heritage and Jacksonville State and UAB Heritage. So that is part of the reason why this is such a Birmingham oriented whatever staff. But there's even more than what I brought up. Those were just the ones off the top of my head that I brought up. And I saw some of the others. Chuck Dunn was on Bill Clark's staff essentially for like 15 years. So he was at Prattville. He was at Prattville when they won all three state titles under Clark. He was at UAB, and then he was at Jack State actually. Actually, no, he was with him the whole time. I didn't realize this. He was at Prattville, he was at South, he was at Jack State, then he was at UAB. So Chuck Dunn has literally been a Bill Clark disciple for all but his time after UAB. And then also with this Ashton Larkins, who is, and he's listed as an assistant coach, but I know he's more of a football personnel guy. He was also at Jack State. He's also worked with the Jaguars. And then Chris Landrum, who played for the Texans and then Chargers, or Chargers and then Texans. He was one of the few drafted out of Jack State. So he played under Clark at Jack State. So and I'm sure there's more to that. Like there's a few that are close. Mickey Kahn was a high school football coach at the same time that all these other guys were high school football coaches. So I'm sure they knew each other. Um, but yeah, it's a good staff, and there's only 10 currently on here. But if they get some other studs, I know that there's some guys. Speaking of the UFL, like there's plenty of guys in the UFL that will eventually go back to college to coach in this next cycle. We saw a ton do it in the past couple of years, including who was the Montgomery, the Auburn guy.
I'm trying to think. Montgomery, like quarterback or what position?
The coordinator. Hold up,
Uh,
Montgomery. He was at Virginia Tech.
oh,
Phil Montgomery. Phil
okay,
Montgomery
okay,
was
yeah,
that.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and he's currently not at Virginia Tech, but he was their interim coach at Virginia Tech.
The Tulsa coach,
But
right? The Tulsa head coach.
yeah, he was at
Okay.
Tulsa. So yeah, and then I think not to throw a straight his way, but I think going to Auburn, and I know that this is something that all my Troy people talk about with a bunch of their coaches in the past, but him going from Tulsa, where he was considered probably one of the, maybe not one of the better coaches in the G5, but a decent head coach in the G5, obviously, right? And then he goes to Auburn for 1 year and gets run out the door. I think that it might have not ruined his career. Obviously, he got on his feet, but sometimes Auburn has its, yeah. Even when you go to Auburn, you either end up on SEC Network like Gene Chizik, or you end up on the sidewalk somewhere. So it's you know.
Yeah, it's not the best place to build, but yeah, I mean, just like hear me down, like just those Birmingham ties and everything, like you said, like Legion Field, something has to be done because I don't think the juice that they're getting is worth the squeeze right now. And there was two neutral site games during week 1 or week 0 on the D2 calendar last year at Legion Field, and one game, Clark Atlanta versus number 12 Valdosta State. Of course, Valdosta State, probably one of the D2's most consistent programs. Only drew 1,263 fans. And then the following year, Fort Valley State versus West Alabama, or sorry, the other game in the doubleheader, excuse me, drew only 2,312 fans. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I would love to see this one at Legion Field, but I feel like it's, I don't think it would be worth it. I don't even know if Samford fans would even care, like you said. Like,
Yeah.
I really appreciate your area insight because that's just stuff that I don't think of. Just like I'm not from the area, I don't know about these institutions, and I,
Um,
I don't want to remark too much about the area around Legion Field. I didn't think it was too bad. I mean,
yeah. No, no, no. It's not. Look, it's not. It's not bad at all. I've been to Friday night games there. Now I will. Okay, I can't give the direct example that I had because I'd probably get a police officer fired or something. But let's just say I got to walk in and they didn't even check me. They were like, "You here for media?" Yeah. Okay. Granted, I was in a very like I had a camera in my hand, I had a nice outfit on, whatever, right? But like I've never had that experience there. When the AAF was there and they were actually selling out the place, it was a big thing. Now I will say the AAF kind of ruined some of that because it felt like people got, a little gypped or whatever of not having a full season there, but still people enjoyed it. But the biggest thing with West Al is they're in Livingston, and in like Livingston, you're not totally out of the way, but you're further away from Birmingham. But those like the people that live in Tuscaloosa and Livingston probably have a better like inclination to go to Legion Field than Samford, even though they have a smaller people base, right? And I'm like, the in total, I think if West South kept going to Livingston, or not Livingston, kept going to Legion Field, and like they kept, thriving there, um, it would be really nice. Like I've been to at least one, I think I've been to two now, Ramsey High School games, and Ramsey's like a IB school, right? It's a very nice school in Birmingham, and like they, for a playoff game or even for just a regular home game that's against a good team, they'll fill out their side. And I'm like, there's plenty of stuff there. So I'm like, if you figure out how to, now I would make it, what I would do, and the one thing that West Sal didn't do, and granted they probably don't have the money for it, is you have to make it some sort of event, i.e., the Magic City Classic, have a third party advertise it, make a third party want to profit off of it, and then you'll have more people come. And I understand that when you start throwing around money numbers and everything, people start to not listen. But if you really want this to work, you have to make somebody incentivized to make it work. And it will benefit you if you're West Al, if you're whoever else, right? Into a better school, because all of a sudden if you're the show in Birmingham that week, right? If you have 20,000 people coming out to the ball game, you're going to get a couple hundred high school football players who are actively in high school coming out to your game being like, oh, I like this, oh, this is a cool experience. And then it becomes a vanity because there's only two schools in the state that currently have that ability, Alabama A&M and Alabama State, and they both have their own weird recruiting base or whatever, right? So if you're a vanity on top of having your own little pool, because as a D2 school in Alabama, you're only fighting a couple of schools for that level of player. And I'm like, you might be able to pull somebody. And then if somebody's getting lowballed by an FCS school, and y'all know y'all do it up there, let me tell y'all, I've seen some DMs. But if you're getting lowballed on like yeah, we know you run a 4.5, but you're only 6'1". Like, yeah, I don't know if you can play receiver for us. Come down to Livingston. We can make you. We can start your day one, and they have a crazy staff. And I know that like the current West South staff will probably not be there by next fall. Not head coach. Head coach is still up for grabs, right? I think that he'll stay at West South for as long as they can. But all those Alabama players, right? There's I keep hearing like, hey, this guy will be here, this guy will be there, this guy will be here. Hey, if this coach gets promoted, then he's gone. And I'm like, but that's still a hell of a staff. Like even if you just get 1 year of development under them, right? But yeah, but
Yeah, like I think it's a good point too. Where like they're like Birmingham's a big city, like
yeah,
like you said, like there's a big talent pool of like unrecruited talent, like
yeah,
benefits from games like that. But I just don't know if like the promoter side, which I have the contract, I just don't feel like doing math. Like I'm not in college. I have a humanities degree. I don't like doing math if I don't have to. Um,
yeah,
but I'm not sure if it like pays off like for the schools. But yeah, like you said, like anytime you're in a nice metro regional area with like not much competition from a D2 perspective or even FCS perspective, like it's good to hop on these opportunities for games like that. So
yeah,
uh, hopefully we'll see with Legion Field. I feel like every year we're just revisiting Legion Field, and this is the 100th year of the stadium too, and
yeah.
there's not really much fanfare online about that. So I think it
And
is
like
1926.
the one thing I want to see at Legion Field, and I'll probably crop this up and use it on my own, so I'll be a little bit more political here. But the one thing I want to see at Legion Field this year is an actual 6A or 7A matchup at Legion Field. And I know that Parker's done very close. They've played Ramsey there. They've played some other schools there. That they've been very, very close. But I'm like, if you can put a big time matchup there, and then whenever I say that, they're like, "Oh, let's go to Protected." But I'm like, Legion Field is Legion Field, right? Protective, I'm sorry. In the next 20 years, they're not gonna have like the aura that Legion Field has. Like I don't think that's bad to say, right? You go to Protective, it's a cool little stadium from the outside. You walk in, it's a hellscape, right? And I'm like, I love Protective. I'm probably one of the best defenders of Protective. That's why I'm attacking Protective. But you look on the outside, you see the Coca-Cola sign, you see the mural that they had to put a damn ramp around that's like completely flabbergasted, right? And then behind you, you have Uptown, and I'm like, it's a beautiful little area. But then you walk in the stadium and it just loses all the aura. Legion Field, they died on that field. You know how many ACLs were sacrificed on Legion Field? That field used to have terrible turf on it. It has so much better turf on it now. It has like prime real estate turf on it. And you're telling me you don't want to play there? Come on, come on. Cinema, absolute cinema. If there's an actual high school football game that gets to play there, and I understand that a college football game would be cooler there, and I still think, and granted, I hate it because I'm pretty sure UAB would actually get like fined by the BJCC if they did this. UAB should play one game at Legion every year. Shoot me if I'm wrong, but that's all. That's all.
I think high school is a good direction to go. I know
Yeah,
with like stadiums like of that Legion Fields type, like where they aren't used much, like War Memorial in Arkansas and Lad
yeah,
Peebles, like they fully shifted to being high school venues, which is respectable because like those schools of course work on taxpayer budgets, so there isn't like it would be nice for every school to have have their own stadium, but that's just not a reality.
yeah.
So yeah, I
And
agree.
can I tell you something? Can I tell you something real quick?
Yeah,
Do you want to guess how many games Mackay Hughes won as a senior at Huffman in Birmingham?
11, 12, 11, 12.
Two.
Really?
Mackay Hughes won 2 games at Huffman. And granted, Huffman, now they aren't, so the Columbia finished their time in 6A, and Alabama just went through this weird, I'm sure you saw some of the reposts on it, that they got rid of 7A. It's kind of stupid. This is the first time I've talked on it, but whatever, right? Um, Columbia went 0 and 99, right? But that's whatever. They'll try to win a game next decade. Um, but Mackay Hughes won 2 games at Huffman as a senior. And obviously he's done well for himself. I'm not trying to poop on Huffman here, but so many of these schools at the like the FCS level, they will focus so much on we have to like get the second tier player or third tier player from the best school when if you just looked a little lower, there is probably, and I can't say this with full frivolity or whatever the word I'm looking for there is, because I don't know if it's completely true. But in the state of Alabama, 5A and up, there is one FBS football player on every roster. And I'm like, that might not be totally sure. That might not be, they might not be there yet. But there is one kid who's either big enough, fast enough, or strong enough, whatever, to figure it out and go D1, right? But then these schools, and I hate, like, there's no real rhyme or reason to getting recruited nowadays. It's really luck. And I don't want to say it's luck, but it is luck, right? Because it's copycat recruiting, even at the Alabama level where, they just throw an offer at a kid and he becomes a 5-star out of nowhere. I'm not saying that to Xavier Crowell or whatever, these other guys that have proved it, but it's more of a statement of hypothetical. But you see all this stuff, and it's just like, it's so I hate to say that it's pure luck, but you just need one offer. You get that one offer, and then all these other schools look at you and they're like, I like you. I like you. But if that one offer is a D2 offer, it's only D2 schools. But if all those D2 schools offer you, and then all of a sudden, Willie Simmons is like, I like that kid. Then all of a sudden, all the other schools, all those G5 schools, and then all of a sudden, your positional coach that's recruiting you at Georgia State goes to Georgia or goes to Auburn, and then he's like, "Hey, I can get you a PWO here," and then you get a PWO, and then you post that you have an offer from let's say Auburn, right? And all you have to say is offer from Auburn, and then like Tennessee comes calling, and Tennessee's like, "Hey, you want a scholarship?" And then all of a sudden, you have now gone from playing D2 football to being a power four, probably a backup player, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's such a weird cycle. And I'm like, there's kids that are out there that are 6'6" that go through the same thing that I just said. There's kids that are all district, all state, whatever, that it took them 17 years to get that big. So they didn't get seen when they were 14. But they're 6'6" and 18 years old now and can, vote and drive their own truck. And now they're all of a sudden get recruited at a high level. And I'm like, I'm not trying to say it's that difficult to get recruited. It's really not. But it's such a weird thing. And there's people that will say that they'll help you. Like, even I'll say, like, hey, like, if there's some kid that I really like, there's probably, in this 26 class, there's still about 10 kids that I think could play FCS level football that are unrecruited, right? Or have one or two offers, or a D2 offer, a JUCO offer, or something like that. And if you have an offer, you have an offer. I will say that. Like, I hate the kids that are like, I have 0 offers. And then you look and it's like, they've actually had 4 JUCOs that are like Mississippi and Oklahoma, like very good JUCOs, reach out and they're willing to give them a shot, but they're just not hungry. Like, I could go on a, like, we've been recording 37 minutes. I could go on a 37-minute rant just on that topic, and I've only been doing it 4 years. So, anyways,
Yeah, I think it's interesting too how just this all just ties into just like the greater recruiting game, just like games like this. But
yeah,
honestly, Scott, I appreciated your insight and just the lengths you took this conversation.
yeah.
Before we close, Scott, do you or Scout, you before we close, Scout, do you have anything you want to promote? I'm gonna give you the floor just to promote or shout out anything that you'd like before we close.
Okay. I'll do a legit one. I would like to promote Mr. Omar. If you didn't know, can I say your rank? I assume that's some. Okay, okay. Captain Omar, Captain America, and all our hearts, right? Um, and then, but obviously he just does this out of the passion of his heart, the goodness of his heart, and then he works a ball and chain for your taxpayer dollars. Anyway, it's my fault. But with all of that, I did want to say thank you to Omar, and with my fun one. Obviously the Senior Bowl is coming up. There will be a lot on Southern Charm Sports about the Senior Bowl. I've had to take like a break over the last 2 months. I get burnt out on this, not easily, but like from July to December, you understand what I'm saying? Like I get burnt out as hell. But I will say, future Jaguar Lee Hunter, we're wearing this for you right now, buddy. UCF legend Lee Hunter, but now he went to Texas Tech. So it's a interesting week in Mobile will be happening. I'm getting down there tomorrow, and then I'm having the most scuffed week. I've already sent this so I can say it out loud too, but I'm literally going down Wednesday, back up Thursday, and then back down Friday because I have an event Thursday to go to here. Um, but yeah, but it'll be fun. I'm meeting a lot of people down there. Obviously, I think like shout out to Lucas Hill, shout out to Joe Will and my dogs that we've done podcasts and stuff. Shout out Cruz Oxenrider's gonna be down there. Famously Garnett's gonna be down there, and then just a bunch of dudes. Like I swear, there's this like with the Senior Bowl itself. If anyone goes, they're probably going every single year, or I mean, at least 80% of the people are going every single year as long as they keep the same position. So there's probably like 20 people. The only time I talk to them is this week. But I probably talk to them every single day. And then when I go down there, like we're gonna be at the bar, we're gonna be eating dinner, we're gonna be like whatever. And also shout out if anyone's up for it, but I have like I bought a Dave and Buster's card and then I got gifted a Dave and Buster's card. So Dave and Buster's will be seeing me this in Mobile. So I had to say that. But yeah, and shout out to all my people, all my college people. Obviously with Samford, I think if you are involved with Samford athletics, you have seen my face at some point. As long as it's football or basketball. Baseball, I was like a ghost that took pictures and posted them. So, um, but yeah, but it's a really cool university. I'm definitely like every time, every other month, I'm like looking, I'm like, hey, is there a job here? I'm like, I love Sanford, it's really cool. And then UNA, obviously, Coach Dearman. I've never met any of the UNA guys in person, but I think I've talked out of any school, I've probably talked to them the most of just like, hey, like just random, like, hey, off the record, coach, but da 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 da. And they're really cool dudes. And Jack State's just like that. Like, dude, like literally, if I could live in any state with the state of football is right now, Alabama, it's so cool. Shout out my Troy guys, shout out my South guys, UAB. Literally every single like I'm going into this fall without any haterade for like any school. I'm just like, hey, can we all succeed? Can we all make a bowl game? Because literally, if every single school in the state of Alabama makes a bowl game, there's like an 85% chance. I did the math on this last fall with the way everything lines up. One's like if all what is it? Uh, Check State UAB six. If all six D1 schools or FBS schools make a bowl game, then they will literally play each other. Like one of them will play each other with the way it all sets up. Either the most likely matchups were Alabama or Auburn playing UAB in Birmingham, which I thought was like a very cool one to think about. Or it was Jack State playing either Troy or South, which happened. So hey, the math was mathing there. But yeah, but fun. Apologies for the 45 minutes you had to listen to this white boy yap, but hey, God forbid a white boy to get a little emotion. But
Well, thank you again, Scout. I'll definitely like try to have you back on. This is an
yeah,
eventful conversation. But yeah, your insight was much appreciated. Honestly, just things I would have considered as being out here. I mean, I've been around, like not I guess near like my travels have taken me around Alabama. Of course, like from like a living perspective, I've been to Alabama, like been to both
yeah,
Crimson and Legion Field for games, but out here in Oklahoma now, in Georgia,
yeah.
and then El Paso. So I've been around Alabama. So like I'm not in the scene. So it's good to have this insight. But for everyone listening, thank you again. Really appreciate your time listening or watching. And just like Scout said, like this gets really tiring, honestly, especially like when you're not really getting paid and it's not your day job and you have a family, that can make this not be as much a hobby. But yeah, like just be on the lookout just for off-season stuff. I'm trying to gradually get back into the video essays, but it's going to be an uphill battle because with work and I am finishing my master's. So I hope to get at least one. I have one project that I held off on last year before the season because things were getting hectic. But really excited about the video essay project that I have in store that I'm writing the script for. But until next time, everyone, thank you for joining. Peace, love, and soul in the burger popper.